You know, it's a funny thing when you think about it. It feels like a universal truth, right?
What's that?
No matter where you are in the world, what language you speak, the very first thing we learn to talk about is our family.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The sources we're diving into actually nail this down. They note that in almost every single culture, the first word a child says is often mom.
It makes perfect sense.
It does. I mean, family is our first social unit. It's the training ground for, well, for everything else. But as we all know, once you get past mom and dad, things get complicated fast.
Right. Suddenly you need the right words for the structure, the personalities, the
The
drama.
whole history.
Exactly. And that's really our mission in this deep dive. We want to give you that shortcut, the vocabulary, the idioms, even the anthropological context you need to really describe family life.
We're going beyond just the who. This is about the what and the why of it all.
And we've pulled together a really fascinating mix of sources for you. We have everything from, practical conversation guides and powerful idioms.
All the way to some pretty deep anthropological research on kinship systems.
Mm.
We're going from these huge global classification systems right down to the slang you might use when your holiday dinner gets a little chaotic.
Okay, so let's unpack this, I think. To really get this, we have to start with the deep end. We have to look at how family is structured.
Precisely. And what's so fascinating is that the way most of us in Western societies think about our relatives, it's all dictated by a system identified way back in 1871 called the Inuit kinship system.
The Inuit kinship system. Okay, that sounds incredibly specific. What's the core idea there?
It all comes down to one thing. It emphasizes the nuclear family.
The core unit.
Exactly. Mother, father, brother, sister. That unit is paramount. The system gives very specific, unique labels only to those people. Everyone else, they get grouped together. It's almost intentional.
So the system itself is designed to create linguistic distance. That's a huge insight. How does that show up in the words we use every day for, aunts, uncles, cousins?
Well, this system is what's called cognatic or bilateral. All that means is that it makes zero distinction between your mother's side of the family and your father's side.
So they're treated as equal.
Totally equal. In name, in status. Your parents' siblings are only separated by their sex. They're all just an aunt or an uncle. It doesn't matter if it's your mom's sister or your dad's brother.
And then all of their kids, that crucial next generation.
All lumped together. They're all simply cousins, gender, age, which side of the family. None of it matters for that label. And the sources are pretty clear that this structure really reflects the social and, maybe more importantly, the economic independence of that nuclear family.
Wait, okay. So if the language is designed to blur the lines between your dad's relatives and your mom's, is that saying the culture doesn't care about lineage, or is it purely about the economics?
It's largely seen as economic. Think about it. When the nuclear family is the main self-sufficient unit, not some big agricultural clan.
Then everyone else becomes functionally more distant.
Exactly. And the language just reflects that. You don't need all those fine distinctions for your wider family group. It's a real aha moment when you realize our most basic family words are shaped by, well, by economic independence.
And speaking of definitions, we have to acknowledge that family today means so much more, while that nuclear or immediate family is still, the basic unit.
The extended family is still hugely important globally. The sources point out that in parts of Africa, for example, those extended networks are absolutely key for support, both social and financial. They often live together or are very close by.
Which is a sharp contrast to that independent model. And then you have structures from modern life, like the blended family, so common now with step-parents and step-siblings.
And of course, single-parent families, foster families, adoptive families.
Yeah.
The language just has to keep up and be able to accommodate all of it.
So let's make this practical. You're in a conversation, someone asks about your family, you need to talk about its size. You'd say something like, I come from a big family, or...
Or, there are 5 of us in my family. But here's a quick note, a common mistake we see. You never, ever say, I have many family.
Ah, good one.
Yeah, family here is a collective noun. So it's big or small or large. It's a tiny detail, but it makes a huge difference in how fluent you sound.
That's a great tip. And once we've got the size, we need to talk about the order, the hierarchy. The general term is, of course, sibling.
Right, for brothers and sisters. And then you have the birth order, which carries so much cultural weight. You got the firstborn or the eldest.
Often the one with all the responsibility.
Then the middle child, who's often seen as the peacemaker. Or maybe the one who feels a bit lost in the shuffle.
And the youngest child.
The baby of the family.
Forever. Even when they're 40.
Exactly. Often seen as the most carefree, maybe a little spoiled. And we can't forget the only child, whose experience is completely different, of course.
Okay, so that's the structure. But what about personality? You need to move beyond just saying your brother is nice or your aunt is difficult.
You need precision. And the source material gave us a really great toolkit for this. For positive traits, you see words that are about support, like supportive, caring, hardworking, reliable.
Those are all very active, describing what someone does.
They are. And then you have the more social traits. Someone can be charming, affectionate, broad-minded, or wise. Calling a relative broad-minded, for instance, is a huge compliment. It means they accept different views, which isn't always easy in a family.
And on the flip side, for difficult relatives, the words also fall into categories. You have the people who are about control, the strict or unreasonable ones.
Then you have what I call the more passive problems. Relatives who are lazy, spoiled, or thoughtless. It's less about active malice and more about a lack of contribution.
Which is very different from someone you'd call arrogant or, in a worst-case scenario, cruel. Knowing the difference lets you be so much more specific.
But often, you're not just describing a personality, you're explaining where it came from, an inherited trait.
And this brings us to a key phrase we saw everywhere in the sources: to take after someone.
This is absolutely essential. It means you resemble a family member, you inherit a characteristic from them. It could be looks, a talent, a personality quirk.
Like, he really takes after his dad with that sense of humor.
Exactly. And this is where all those great idioms come into play. They're like conversational shortcuts for the same idea.
Right, like the classic one, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Often used when a kid shows the same, maybe slightly negative trait as a parent.
Or the more direct ones, like father, like son, or my personal favorite, chip off the old block.
It's interesting, isn't it? We have so many ways to say this. It shows how obsessed we are with where traits come from.
There's also the phrase, run in the family, which is a bit different.
Yes, that's more for a general trait or ability that shows up across generations. Like musical talent seems to run in the family, or you could use it for a medical condition too.
So shifting from individual traits to the group dynamic, you might describe your family as a close-knit family.
Which means you're all very connected, very supportive, you spend a lot of time together.
And the key verb phrase for a good relationship is simply to get along with somebody.
It sounds simple, but it implies a lot. A friendly, low-conflict relationship. And when you're talking about opinions, if you really agree, you see eye to eye with someone.
Whereas if you're just aligned on a project or a plan, you might just be on the same page.
Right, you don't have to agree on everything, but you're working towards the same goal.
Okay, so we've covered structure and personality, but here's where it gets really interesting.
The drama.
The drama. The colorful language we use when family dynamics get complicated or when the bonds are tested.
And we have to start with the foundational idiom, the one that sort of pushes back against that distant kinship system we talked about.
And that is?
Blood is thicker than water.
Simple, powerful. It means family bonds are just stronger. Stronger than friendship, stronger than anything else. It implies a sense of duty.
And that duty is what we call family ties, those strong connections. And the choice to act on them is to put family first. It's a justification for a major life decision.
But not all families are perfect. Every family has a past. And that brings us to that amazing metaphor, skeletons in the closet.
Yes, those are the big family secrets. The embarrassing truths that everyone knows but nobody talks about. A feud, a financial problem, something darker.
And sometimes the skeleton isn't a secret, it's a person.
The black sheep of the family.
The rebel.
The rebel, the outlier, the one who just doesn't fit in. The sources say this comes from sheep farming because black wool was less valuable. It implies the person is seen as a flaw in the family unit.
There are also idioms about power. In a relationship, the person in control is the one who wears the pants.
It's a bit dated, maybe, but
Yeah.
still a very common shorthand for who has the authority. And when the whole family is facing a challenge together,
They are all in the same boat.
right, it emphasizes that shared struggle. And on a happier note, a big family gathering or project, that's a family affair.
And you might hear someone say to keep it in the family, which means keeping a business or maybe a promotion within that small group.
But conflict is just. It's inevitable. If you have a big argument, you fall out with someone. And hopefully afterward, you make up.
You apologize, you fix things, but for a really serious long-term fight, you need a stronger phrase.
For that, you have to bury the hatchet. That means making peace. truly reconciling,
And the overall goal, especially at big holiday meals, is just to keep the peace.
which often means biting your tongue a lot.
So true. Okay, so we've got structure, personality, and the idioms. Now we need the actions, what families actually do together, and how we talk about that shared history.
The sources gave a great breakdown of the verbs we use. For indoor activities, you'll often hear gerunds, like we enjoy playing cards or watching movies, baking, doing arts and crafts.
And for getting outside, it's those active verbs,
Yeah.
walking, swimming, hiking, cycling, or having a barbecue. Using these verbs is really the key to describing how you spend time together.
And then there are the less fun activities. Chores. The source material puts it perfectly. It says household chores are often a bone of contention.
The #1 cause of small family arguments, I bet.
Probably.
Yeah.
And what's interesting linguistically is the grammar we use. It's almost always the action plus the definite article, the.
What do you mean?
It's not just washing dishes. It's washing the dishes. It's mopping the floors, vacuuming the house, ironing the clothes.
Ah, right. It makes the task specific, defined, non-negotiable.
Exactly. And it's the same for outdoor chores. Mowing the lawn, watering the plants, washing the car, and the universal one, taking the rubbish out. Mastering that little pattern makes you sound much more fluent.
Finally, let's talk about the past, about childhood. You need those framing phrases to set the scene.
Things like when I was a kid, or in my teens, or if it was a long time ago, when I was much younger.
And for explaining where you're from, the clearest way is, I was born in City A, but I grew up in City B. Simple, direct.
And this is so important. When you're talking about habits or repeated actions in the past that you don't do anymore, you need a special structure.
Right. You have to use I used to, or I would.
The distinction is subtle. I used to is great for states or general habits. I used to live next to my cousins. But I would is better for repeated actions. Every Sunday, I would go to my grandmother's house for lunch.
Using those shows a real command of storytelling. And the last piece of the childhood puzzle is talking about rules.
Oh, yeah. You need the language to describe what your parents made you do or didn't let you do.
So you can say, my parents made me clean my room, or they didn't let me stay out late.
And from your own perspective, you'd say, I had to be home by 10. Or the classic childhood complaint, I wasn't allowed to watch that movie.
We have really covered a huge amount of ground here.
We have. We started with this big, deep idea of the Inuit kinship system and how it focuses on the nuclear family's independence.
And we worked all the way down through personality traits to these incredibly colorful idioms about family secrets and bonds.
And mastering this vocabulary, knowing the difference between an eldest and a youngest child, using phrases like take after or close-knit, it really equips you. It lets you give a full, interesting answer when someone asks about your family.
You can move beyond the simple stuff and get into the nuance, the structure, the history. You can explain exactly why your blended family is so close or why a certain talent runs in the family. You have the tools.
You really do.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to think about. We started by saying that our basic language structure, the Inuit kinship system, seems designed to create distance. It lumps so many relatives together into this one big category of cousins. So if that system suggests a culture of independence, what does it tell us about our modern values that we have created so many powerful idioms? Blood is thicker than water, family ties, put family first, phrases designed specifically to reinforce the very bonds that our language seems to want to make more distant. Why do we feel the need to constantly remind ourselves with these powerful phrases that family matters?